There is still a myth in India that destination weddings are expensive. Do you think so?
If you plan it well, and planning is the key here, you have to have good partners, good people to work with. I think you can do it. Probably in the flight to go to Italy, you can do an entire wedding in Goa, right?
I remember a rule that I had coined when we were planning the first destination wedding by Veena World, right? And that was 40, 30, 20, 10.
To decide where to have the wedding, you need to decide what is it that you really love. And that's a decision both the bride and the groom have to make.
How does the thought of having a wedding on a train sound to you?
Bollywood over the years has shown us that a wedding can't be just a half-day affair. It has to be stretched out.
Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Travel, Explore, Celebrate Life. Today Sunila and I are excited to talk about destination weddings. Well, weddings are the flavor of the season, right? Because a certain wedding caught eyeballs all across India and also all across the world. So we thought, why not sit down and talk about destination weddings? So let's get started with today's episode of Travel, Explore, Celebrate Life. Sunila, it's after a while that both of us are sitting down. But when we talk about destination weddings, the first question I'd like to ask you is, what was a recent destination wedding that you attended?
Yeah, Neil, recently I had a chance to attend a wedding. This year I would say. And it was in Goa by the beach and it was absolutely gorgeous, really stunning. It turned out to be my friend's son's wedding and we all had a great time. I must say it was nice to attend a destination wedding after a very long time because I think one of the other memorable ones I've attended has been more than 20 years ago.
Wow.
So and that was in Athens. So, from Athens to Goa.
That was 20 years ago.
20 years ago. So it's been great and it was really nice.
We all thought that I would have a destination wedding, but
we were hoping for that, yes.
But COVID played spoilsport and we had a much smaller wedding here in Mumbai. But what is your take on destination weddings? Why do you think, or why do you say that this Goa wedding that you recently attended, what was so special about it?
So Neil, when I attended this wedding in Goa, one thing that really stood out and which I realized later was that not just the wedding itself, not just the ritual itself, the Saptapadi or, the Varmala, but all those other moments that were around it gave you so much time to get to know each other. So we were from the groom's side, but by the end of those 2 days, we knew the bride's side also really well. And I think it's a lot of happy memories for everyone. It's like when you go on a tour, you get to know people so much more than just meeting them officially for an hour, right? Because you just spend so much time with each other. And I think that really for me was the answer in a way as to why a destination wedding, because you can give time to each other and to all the loved ones who you want to be a part of your wedding. So I think that for me was special.
That's a very good point you made, right? Otherwise, when you are attending a wedding, you attend the Sangeet, the actual wedding, the reception. And you tend to get to know only the partner or the husband or the wife that the person is getting married to, but you don't really get to know the actual family. So that's a good reason to have a destination weddings. And I'm glad you started with that because it is essentially a long holiday that you're doing with 50 people, 100 people and all of that. Now, COVID taught us that Indian weddings can also be small affairs, right? Yes. But there is still a myth in India that destination weddings are expensive. Do you think so?
I don't think so. I think it, they can be expensive if you want to. There's no limit to that. But I think if you don't want to, then you can do a really nice wedding in your budget. You need to decide your budget first. And there are a lot of factors which we'll talk about, of course, which will decide what this budget could be. So a flight to Goa compared to a flight to, say, the UK or Italy is going to be hugely different. So probably in the flight to go to Italy, you can do an entire wedding in Goa, right? So it's really very subjective, but I don't think they are necessarily that expensive expensive, because come on, I mean, when you think of it, if you plan it well, and planning is the key here, you have to have good partners, good people to work with. I think you can do it, because, if you're doing it in a city like Mumbai, even one event is going to be so expensive. Take into account the food, the venue, and everything. When you add up all the costs, it's going to be as good as doing it somewhere else. So I don't think they have to be expensive. But yes, it will take a lot of planning to make sure that everything fits into the budget you have in mind. What do you think, Neil? Like,
I think,
you've attended a few weddings outside India as well, right?
I've attended many weddings, but I honestly think that if you want to do a destination wedding, it can be done not in a cheap way, but in a value for money way. And I was recently on a call with a friend of mine who owns a chain of hotels all across Rajasthan. And I asked her that, okay, what should be a budget that someone should take for a destination wedding? And she was like, Neil, to be honest, I recently did a wedding where there were only 30 people who attended the wedding, and they finished everything in 10 lakh rupees.
Wow.
So I was like, how did someone do only limit the guest list to only 30 people? And she was like, whenever a destination wedding is considered in a family, right, the guest list is shortened. Your neighbors, aunts, uncle is not going to come to your wedding, right? So that's why the guest list gets shortened. And what hotels really nowadays do, and you of course know because you are part of the corporate events team at Veena World, that hotels give you packages. Hotels give you packages in such a way that everything's taken care of. Now, when Heta and I were planning our wedding, which was here in Mumbai, the 4 months were hell. There is just so much stress. So, in connection to that, I have found that planning these destination weddings, which we have done for a few of our guest families, easy, because there's a package, everything's been taken care of. If you're in Thailand, you're doing Thai food, but now people are having destination weddings in India. So if you're in Rajasthan, you have your dal bati thali, you have lal mas, and everything that is there, right? So I feel destination weddings are actually cheap. And I recently wrote an article in the Indian Express about it, that, it is a myth that they are expensive. Now, if we are busting this myth, right, how should someone go about deciding where to get married? I remember you were telling me about this Goa wedding, and you told me that they planned it in such a way that they were on the beach and the sun was setting, and then they did the Varmala or Jaymala as it's called. So tell us a little bit about planning and deciding on a venue.
Yeah, really good point. And I think going back to the wedding in Goa, I think it was so beautifully planned, because the resort was not a very fancy one. It was not a 5-star. It was a good 4-star. But the bride and the groom knew exactly what they wanted. They wanted like a beautiful memory. They wanted this, photos with the sunsets, and they wanted everyone to have a great time. And they asked the, priest for different muhurats, and the muhurat they chose for that day, and they managed to get it all right, was exactly at the time that the sun was setting. So, I still have photos of them where they are exchanging vows and the sun is setting. I mean, what can beat that, right? That moment is priceless for you to have. So coming to how do you decide where to have, I think that is another good reason to have a destination wedding, when the bride and the groom are from different places. Because very often both of them want to do it in their hometown. And now with increasingly people getting married from all across the world, right? And even like I've had so many friends in, say you had friends in Australia, I had friends in the US who wanted to get married to, say, the locals or someone. And then where exactly, which city do you get married in? So when you come from 2 different cities, neither yours nor mine, let's do it together in a different place. And then if you have your friends and family visiting from some other country coming in, why not make a holiday out of it, right? So recently we also did like one holiday for my friend's cousin, whose son got married in Rajasthan, and then after that they went off on a nice little trip. So they were like about 20 odd people who went off on a tour together, and they enjoyed the country as well. So I think, to decide where to have the wedding, you need to decide what is it that you really love, and that's a decision both the bride and the groom have to make. Do you like lakes? Do you like, let's talk of India, because it's we're speaking of destination weddings in India. We have a fabulous coastline. Do you want the beaches? Do you want the lakes? Do you want the mountains? Or you want something that is more historical maybe. So like palaces and forts, we have enough of those. Or you want a lot of greenery and then you're going to be in white or whatever. So maybe like the backwaters of Kerala. So you can do it on the beaches. So Goa, Mahabalipuram, so many Kerala, it has all those beaches. Karnataka as well. Or you could be in Rajasthan, Udaipur, Jodhpur, Jaisalmer to have this beautiful backdrop. And then, of course, there are so many lakes in Udaipur and the other things. So I think you need to decide what it is that you wish to remember all your life. And then you can select the right spot. And of course, all around the world, there are so many other places. That you can.
You mentioned all of these places, right? But there are some unique things that are also happening in India.
Right.
People are wanting to go scuba diving and get married underwater, right?
Yes.
That was one thing that I came across. I came across people wanting to go to Everest Base Camp and get married. So those are the adventurers.
Yeah.
I came across people who are so fascinated by the history of, say, our state Maharashtra that they want to go to a fort and they want to get married.
Yeah.
So a destination wedding can be anything. Yeah. Like, you going to a place that is 2 hours from your hometown also becomes a destination wedding. Now, let's say we've decided on a place, right? What do you think, how should I discuss what food I'm going to have, who's going to do the photography and all of these things? What comes to your mind? Let's just take an example of this Goa wedding that you attended and you really liked it because it was planned really well. So what are some of the components that, if someone's watching this and they plan to get married, or in India, people like to give advice, right? I like to give people advice that, you shouldn't do this, you should do that. So if someone's giving advice to their relatives, what should they keep in mind apart from this venue?
I think the one advice, Neil, that holds true, especially when you're having a destination wedding, is to absolutely find a right partner and trust that partner in terms of logistics and in terms of everything else that you want to do. Because once you hand it over, you want to enjoy the wedding. You're free. You remember your wedding also, it was a pandemic, of course, and, we were in our masks and stuff, and we had to keep going back and forth again and again to select the menu, select the venue, select the food. And
the food was pretty good though.
It was very good. The whole wedding turned out to be beautiful. It was a beautiful evening, but we could not invite as many people as we would have loved to. But that apart, there was a lot of planning that the family was doing. You remember how we used to sit down and then everyone had to go through. I think when you do a destination wedding and you have a partner, a lot of that stress is off you. Because there's someone else doing all the groundwork, and it's like making a house. If you have a good interior decorator, they just come to you and say, do you like this or this or this? And then you just choose. You don't have to sit and wonder should I build a wall here, should I not? I think that's kind of similar, where you don't have to sit and wonder, how should I make the mandap? What should I do? They come to you with options. They come to you with everything. So, Neil, just like an interior decorator, when you have professionals looking at every aspect of the wedding, then you have the peace of mind and you can really enjoy the wedding, And it really depends on the venue, because they will help you select the right venue. And it's very, very important you have the right venue. To give you an example, do you want an outdoor or an indoor wedding, right? Yeah. If you want something indoors, then is the grand ballroom able to accommodate the number of people you have? Is it okay to have, most Hindu weddings would have the saptapadi around the fire. So is that allowed? Or
right?
Yeah, or do you need an outdoor venue? So all these things are to be taken care of. And it's like a corporate event or something. So it's good when someone else is doing all that work. But Neil, I want to ask you something, and let me ask you this now. So, 2 questions I have for you. What do you think is a good time? How many days should one plan for? And what would be a good budget? You mentioned something like she even did something like 10 lakhs, but probably that is a one-off thing, because just 30 people, come on, your closest circle of family is also more than 30.
Yeah.
We tried to have one small event at home and we had more than 60 people easily. So what's a good budget to have, and how many days do you account for?
So, see, like you said at the start of the episode, right? The upper limit is anything.
Yeah.
You could go 10 crores, 20 crores, 30 crores. But when I was speaking to a few friends who own these hotels across India, and I was trying to understand how destination weddings take place, they were like, if you were to look at a ballpark, right? Think about it this way, that if you have about 50 to 100 people, you could do a wedding in about 25 lakh rupees and you keep 10% or 20% above for buffer. So I often look at destination weddings, and I remember a rule that I had coined when we were planning the first destination wedding by Veena World, right? And that was 40, 30, 20, 10. 40%, 30%, 20%, 10%. 40% goes to the venue and the decor. Okay. 30% is actually the transport and the flights. 20% is for the food and catering that is there. And the 10% is for everything that is photography, you're getting a DJ and 15 other things. Now, someone watching this might go like, Neil, 10% for photography, 10% for DJ, that's ridiculous. Well, I'm not talking about the famous photographers who'll charge you 50 lakh rupees just to come and do your wedding, right? I'm talking about a photographer who will be able to capture the memories that you want, who will be able to create a video for you and give you a very nice, elegant video, a very nice video that will capture the memories that you actually want.
Candid photos, candid videos,
exactly.
which really, you're looking at it like sometimes we sit and look back at your videos as well, and it's so much fun. Like,
exactly. So, I think the minimum for a destination weddings, if you're thinking about 50 odd people or more, is about 20 to 25 lakh that you can do a good destination wedding in. You can do it in less also, but it depends on what type of hotel you want, what type of setting you want. So whether you want real flowers or whether you want flowers that look way nicer but are artificial. Whether you want just coffee and tea or whether you want an espresso or cappuccino or something like that. Now, I heard about a wedding that happened in Morocco and they had flown in elephants for it, right? Now, that's the upper limit for it. But so here we are talking about weddings that people want to just create memories and memories with their loved ones. Like we say, celebrate life with their loved ones. So yeah, this 40, 30, 20, 10 rule often tends to work. Yeah.
That's a very easy and simple rule to remember. Of course, you can change according to what you want. I mean, it's not set in stone. So if you really want to give people, spend more on food, you can. But I think that makes it very easy to understand. And then, depending on the number of people you have and the budget you have, you can do that. So let's come to the second point now, and that is how many days should you really put in, because there are just so many events that can take place. Some weddings, like typically traditional Maharashtrian weddings, could be even a half-day affair with the actual fairas and everything happening in an hour or so, and then you have a meal and you go home. But over the years, we've all started to love these weddings and all the fun that comes with it. Bollywood has also shown us that you have to have at least 2-3 events. So how many days should you account for?
So I will not advise here because people will have their own preferences. But I would like to say something where a standard wedding nowadays, all of the weddings that I've attended in Phuket, Rajasthan, Kerala, Goa. I've attended one in Himachal. I've also had the chance to attend one in Kolkata. Now, most of them follow a standard thing where you arrive at a destination. The first lunch is for everyone to mingle around. Like you said, right? That you get to know everyone.
Yeah.
Then there is, of course, the haldi that happens. Then there is the sangeet. And then the next day there is the wedding and there is a reception.
Right.
Now, going by this template, you could have 2 nights and 3 days. And that gives everyone a good amount of time to relax, chill, and then get to know everyone and have a good time. But I'm also seeing that people are doing 3-night weddings or 4-night weddings. So why 3 nights? Why 4 nights? Because people are seeing that the first day, people are just tired from the journey. If you're having a wedding, let's say in Rishikesh, you're flying into Dehradun. It's going to be an early morning flight. You're arriving there. You're really tired. Then you're driving to Rishikesh, a 1-hour drive, but you're still just tired. So the first day, even if there's a haldi, there's a sangeet that is going to happen, you're still tired. Yeah. So you don't really enjoy. The second day is when you enjoy. So some people have started then giving preference to having 3-night, 4-night weddings. I've also attended a wedding where it was a 2-night wedding. But the people getting married were like, you know what, we want to spend more time with our friends. So we are not going to do a honeymoon, we are going to do a Frienymoon.
Wow.
So it was the couple that got married and then a few sets of friends went on a trip across Rajasthan. So the wedding was in Jaipur, and from Jaipur we did Mandava, Bikaner, Jaisalmer, Jodhpur and out. So the entire thing, because the couple was like, we are getting married to be with each other for life. We'd rather spend time with our loved ones and friends who have flown down to come and spend these special moments with us. And that actually brings me to the a second point. And circling back to the first question, where I asked you, how do you decide a venue? One thing you should also think about is that if there are these 50 people, 100 people, 150 people coming, what is a destination that one, they haven't been to?
Yeah.
Because let's say everyone would have been to Goa, right? Then what is different? Once you're at the destination, can they do side trips?
Yeah.
Like we've often seen people coming to a wedding in Shimla and then wanting to do side trips anywhere, right? So that also has to be taken into account. And something that often I have seen happen more and more of late is that it's not necessary for a family to take care of the entire expense of the wedding. When you send an invite, maybe people are like, okay, I'll book my own flights and come. So sometimes that is also happening. So it could be a minimum of a 2-day affair or 2-night affair, but maximum, as we are seeing, some weddings are going on for 2 months, 3 months, 4 months. So like that.
Yeah, that's right, Neil, because, like when you think of it, and you did mention that you could have even a 3-night or 4-day, and maybe a day or a half a day there could be kept aside to go and see the destination. Definitely if it's something you've not been before. And I feel India has changed so much that even if you have been to a destination before, there's always something new to do or something else to discover and, find out. But since we are on the topic of destinations, I have a few destinations in mind, but what are like the top destinations that come to your mind when you think of a good venue for a destination wedding? We mentioned a few, and you did mention some completely offbeat ones like scuba diving and others. But what do you think is the top draw? Like what shall work?
Now, when you think of destination weddings, you only think about the 5-star hotels in India, right? But I would say think further, be creative in what you want to do. So some destinations that actually come to my mind are, you could have a wedding in Shimla. Now, Shimla is famous for its mall road, and Shimla has many boutique hotels all across Shimla, not in the city, but across. So that's somewhere where you could have. Another wedding that I had attended in Rajasthan was not in Jaipur, but an hour away from Jaipur, was a 25-room hotel, and they had taken just that hotel. And what they had done was they had a party that started at 8 p.m. and went on till 8 a.m. And they had got DJs who were DJs that play at all of these pubs and bars across Mumbai, but they were there and everyone was coming every 2 hours. So you can have something like that in Rajasthan. You could have a wedding in the sand dunes of Jaisalmer also. Wow. So that was something that I had in mind. People often like to go to Kerala and have a beach wedding, but rather I'll say have a wedding in the backwaters of Kerala. That could be a great thing. And if you remember, when about 8 or 10 years ago, we had gone to Kumarakam Lake Resort, and there they have a sunset cruise that they do seafood on the barbecue for you. All of those things really are something that are unique. But something else that actually comes to mind are national parks in India. You can't have a wedding inside a national park, but the properties that are there outside of these national parks have a very compact setting. There'll be about 8 rooms, 12 rooms, 20 rooms. Now you could just take that entire property and you could do the safari by day and have the wedding by night. So that is also something that you could think of. I don't know whether any property will allow that, but you could do a lot of that. Then a few other places that come to mind are in the east of India, the northeast or the Seven Sisters, where you have multiple places at a higher altitude, which means the weather is always going to be nice. So these are places that you can have weddings in, but you also have to be mindful of the season that you plan to have your wedding. Don't have a wedding in Goa, or I'd say try not to have a wedding in Goa in the month of May. It's just too hot. Or if you have a wedding in Goa in the month of July, it's raining all the time. But if you're having an indoor wedding, it could really be easy. So here I actually remembered another point that I used in the article last week, was that if you want to have a wedding which is more value for money, try to find out a season where not many tourists go to that particular destination, because hotels will also be willing to give you cheaper rates or budget-friendly rates, and then you can have a wedding that you actually wanted. Like someone wanted a wedding in a castle in Rajasthan or a palace in Rajasthan, but they decided that they'll probably do it in the month of February, or they probably wanted to do it in July, and you could have a great wedding. So there are many places that come to my mind, and the list is actually endless. But what are some things that you have on your mind?
Well, you mentioned quite a few, and I think the sky is the limit here when it comes to creativity and weddings. I would also say, like, just to add to a few others, Dehradun and the whole area also turns out really well, especially if you have maybe less numbers. You have direct flights from most places, and it's just so beautiful. There are some beautiful properties there, and you can add in like some wellness packages along with that, because you are maybe stressed after the wedding, or just to take the stress off and relax in those serene surroundings. I think adding on the wellness package would be a great way to add that. Maharashtra itself, we saw that you mentioned the forts. There are some hotels that are also built atop forts, and these give you these beautiful picturesque backdrops for the photos. I think like that whole pre-wedding shoot, which you can just do it one day prior or something, or you can do it, you can actually combine it with the recce that you're doing for the wedding. So I would say that would be a great way to do it. And Maharashtra also along the beach has so many resorts, small ones maybe, and if you are looking for something not too fancy, it'll work well. But like for example, Sawantwadi Palace today itself has turned into a hotel, and it's such a great place. So there are so many such different palaces and forts all across the state that have converted to hotels, and you can easily use them for what you want to do. So yeah, I think there's just...
But there are three more that came to my mind. Like, sorry to interrupt you there. One, something has not yet done in India, or at least I've not come across. You can charter an aircraft,
Right.
and you can have a wedding at 35,000 feet. That is something unique that people haven't done, but chartering an aircraft is easy. 190 seats, you just pay for all 190 seats and a little more, and then you can charter the aircraft. So it's not only for the select few who have private planes, you can actually charter your own aircraft. Second one, how does the thought of having a wedding on a train like sound to you? Because there are all these luxury trains, right? What was the luxury train that you went on?
I attended an event on the train, so it'll be a bit shaky, I must say. And
Yeah,
you
but you
probably
can.
won't sleep all night, which anyways you wouldn't if you're partying
Yeah.
with your friends. But yeah, it could work. I was on Deccan Odyssey, and we had this whole big conference on Deccan Odyssey. I didn't sleep a wink, so I wasn't in the best of the spirits in the next day during the conference. I had to struggle to keep my eyes open. But there were some people who really slept like babies. But yeah, it would be very, very interesting and very unique.
You could have the events on the train.
Yeah, it is a very
because the
unique...
train is going from one place to another, your destination wedding is not just about one destination.
Yeah.
It is about 3 or 4 destinations. Like if the train is starting from Delhi and ending in something like Udaipur, you would have your Sangeet, which you can't dance on the train, but the train takes you from Delhi to one point in Jaipur, and your Sangeet is in Jaipur. Then your next function could be in Udaipur. And so it's like excursions,
it's very
right?
creative, and it's wonderful.
Yeah.
And to add to that, now that you've brought up trains, India does have some luxury river cruises as well.
Oh, yeah?
On the Ganges, on the Brahmaputra. So I think that would be also fabulous to...
So these river
be
cruises
on
are what,
there.
like 20 rooms, 40 rooms or something?
Yeah, there are some bigger ones as well. And then, like you mentioned, Neil, you can take up the whole space, and then you have the whole thing to yourself. I think, especially when you're not looking for a very big venue, renting out a smaller place in totality and having exclusive use gives you so much freedom to do so many things. And I think that is a great idea that I like. That if it's a close, intimate wedding, try and take in a smaller property. There's so many these palaces and havelis, in Rajasthan, but even the other places, Madhya Pradesh has some. So many other, Gujarat has some. So you could just take up the whole place and have it to yourself. I think that would be a great way to have a wedding.
I think a good takeaway from this episode is the unique destination weddings that one could have that we've spoken about. I think we've spoken about the river cruises, we've spoken about the trains, we've spoken about trying to have a wedding at 35,000 feet. Scuba diving and having a very small wedding is also something that you could do. But destination weddings are really evolving, and of course the sky is the limit, but I would like to say that destination weddings are really possible for each and every one, and not for the select few, which was the case about 10 years ago or 15 years ago.
Neil, we've been speaking so much about weddings, and I feel like, I hope there's another destination wedding in the family, because I'm excited now.
Yeah, hoping.
Yes, let's keep our fingers crossed, and definitely it would be so much fun to go out and enjoy a wedding, especially when you're close to the people. But we've been speaking for all of this, and as is our tradition with Travel, Explore, Celebrate Life, nothing can be complete without food. And especially when it comes to weddings, food becomes the most important thing. Whether to have vegetarian items, non-vegetarian, because that also can depend on the venue, where you are, and whether that's available or what is available locally. So what's your take on that?
See, I would only give probably 3 pieces of advice over here. Is that when you're deciding multiple things in the wedding, people often don't give enough importance to food. And what then happens is that the guests who come will have matar paneer by day and paneer matar by night. And that's why it becomes repetitive. So that's why I would say that when you're looking at the food, try to bring in a variety in the menu. If you're having a wedding in Rajasthan, don't try to pack in everything that Rajasthan is famous for in one meal. If you're having a wedding in Kerala and Kerala is known for its seafood, try not to have all kinds of fish in the same thing. So try to bring in that variety. Now there, at least I learned this from my wedding, right? My father-in-law loves food. And on the wedding day, there was supposed to be food. Now, we singled out that, okay, he is the one who knows food, he knows caterers, he should be the best person who decides the menu. Then once he took it ahead, we did not look into it at all. So you have to find one person in your family who knows a lot about food, not someone who just likes food in general and will just, put anything on the menu. So that's my first point. Find someone in your family who knows about food. Second, like I said, bring variety. And don't try to repeat items. If you think that you like fried rice, don't have fried rice everywhere. If you like pani puri, have pani puri for one thing. And the third thing is, there is a lunch and a dinner that happens all the time. There's a breakfast that happens all the time. But if you're going to have a sangeet, which is going to go well into the night, there is one more meal that you have to really think about, and that is supper. Now, there was a wedding that we attended, and that wedding had a party that went on till 3 o'clock, 3:30, 4. The moment we came out, there was someone who was making omelette pav and Maggie, right?
Comfort
at 4 a.m.
food
At 4 a.m.
best, yes.
And that is what people remember. People will remember that, you didn't give us lunch and dinner. You actually thought that, we'll be tired. We'll want to eat something at 4 a.m. and you had something. So be mindful of that. And those are the small memories that really make your wedding a wedding that not only the both of you will remember, but everyone will remember. And even 10 years on, people will be like, this wedding, we did this. Do you remember that? And that's what it is. Like our wedding, Heta and I wanted to have a brunch party, okay? And we were like, the biggest problem is that all of these parties happen in the evening, which means you'll tell people 7:30 onwards, people will come at 10, and then it can go crazy. And sometimes the hotel has told you that, okay, we'll allow you to, have the party till 3, but then suddenly some cops will come or something, and then it's done at 1. So we were like, let's have a day party. So what we did was we took a banquet hall, and the party started at 12 onwards. So people could come at 1:32 or whatever. And then you remember, we just blacked out the entire room. So it felt like it's night.
It was night inside.
It felt like it was night, but people were so fresh because it was only 1 p.m. or 2 p.m. So the party started at 12 noon, went on till 8:30. But the good part about that was the buffet was laid out at 12:30 and the buffet was kept till 6 o'clock. So people could go eat anytime. So even after the party, people just went home and went off to sleep.
Yeah, I think that was a great idea. I must admit, initially it sounded a bit strange, to have cocktails as brunch in the day. But once we were in, I think I didn't stop dancing for 8 hours straight that day.
Yeah.
And that is a very happy memory, So you're right. And people were going in, eating, coming back, dancing again. So yeah, you need to be creative and you need to decide what it is that you want. And I think you find the right spot.
And over there, it can't be the bride and groom deciding everything.
Right.
That is one last advice that, I would like to, maybe if you are ending, unless you have another point, that it cannot be the bride and groom deciding everything. I was doing that for my wedding and my Bharat ka band was decided 2 days before because I had just forgotten about it. And someone was like, oh, who's playing in your Bharat? And I was like, oh, no one right now. Let me call someone. So that's my advice. Don't decide everything, just the two of you.
And so as we speak, Neil, we are heading into the Indian wedding season. So let's wish everyone who's getting married a very happy wedding and look forward to planning it for them as well.
Awesome. So that was our episode on destination weddings. Thank you for listening to Travel, Explore, Celebrate Life or watching it on YouTube. And if you like this episode, be sure to tell your friends about it and give us that subscribe, because we are coming up with more and more interesting episodes that could be about culture, travel, food, history, or anything that leaves us with a food for thought. Until next time, keep celebrating life. Bye.